Well, before I formally introduce you, Genna, thank you for being here. I'd just like to acknowledge that the Nisenan people, our tribal peoples, are still here among us today, though they are nearly invisible. The tribe is now 142, where once it was between 7,000 and 8,000 at the commencement of European contact. And their story continues to be excluded from history, although I do feel that there's much community love locally for the Nisenan. We're all leaning in and trying to figure out what it is that we can do to ensure that the Nisenan voice is heard. And we understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as the campaign to restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition. And we might say the same were we up in the eastern part of our county, which is the land of the Washoe. So welcome, Genna. I'm so delighted that you've joined us. The last time I was kind of in your company properly was in Keene in New Hampshire, right? Was New Hampshire? Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we both flew in from our respective parts of the country to participate at Radically Rural. Do you want to share what we were doing there?
Yeah, totally. So hi, folks. My name is Dr. Genna Styles-Lyas, and I am the director of AEP6 Equity and Community Engagement, or Community Engagement and Equity. I don't know why I have those flipped in my brain today. And I'm coming from the DMV area. So we saw DC, Maryland, Virginia, and I'm on the unceded lands of the Piscataway people. So I want to lift them up in this conversation, especially since Eliza did the same. But we were in Keene at Radically Rural, talking about how we can widen the scope of what arts and culture means in rural spaces, and through widening the scope, we do critical engagement and equity-based inclusion practices with BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous people of color, or Alana, which is African, Latin, Asian, Arab, and Native American people. So it was it was Eliza, myself, and another partner for the study that just kind of talked about like the struggle and the success and the like bumps in the roads, and how we've sort of met those bumps in the roads, kind of like speed bumps. We had to take our time to get over them, but we are in the process of getting over them, getting through them, getting in a space of figuring out why we need the speed bump. We need the speed bump, though. We do. So anyways, that's what we were doing in in New Hampshire. And I'm just so excited to be here. I think I need to turn the mic back to you, Eliza, before I just kind of like, I want to just know about everybody, really. So yes, Eliza.
Well, first of all, thanks so much, Genna. First of all, I want to thank those of you in the room today who've been incredibly generous with your time when we knock on your door persistently and say, hey, can we attend this or that event that your organization is putting on? We want to survey your audiences, and you're probably really used to it by now. Sometimes, we get folks thinking we just want free tickets, but often we'll only stay long enough to gather the minimum number of surveys that Americans for the Arts want from us. And just to explain, Genna will be talking in more detail, but we really want to engage with you today and for you to ask questions and lean in. I want to acknowledge Michaelin, who's with us. Michaelin is our social media guru for Nevada County Arts Council and the Grass Valley Nevada City Cultural District. And she's also helping steer the organization through its second arts and economic prosperity study. This takes an entire year where we basically go out and we survey audiences in rain, come all weather, wherever there's an event, we'll go in all parts of the county in order that we gather a really good, diverse spread of data. Very soon, we're going to be reaching out to you organizationally to have you share in complete confidence. We don't actually see your data at all. We just help guide you through that process. But Americans for the Arts will be writing to you soon, engaging with you in order to best assess the economic impact of Nevada County. And why this is so important is that we did a survey like this in 2018 and 19. And you might remember, who remembers Randy Cohen, Vice President for Research and Policy at Americans for the Arts, coming and speaking to us to help us launch the study? Does anyone remember that from this group? It was amazing. We basically booked the Rood Center, and then we did a county-wide tour with Randy. We came up to Truckee, Jean and Kat and Becky, and we met with Sierra Business Council, with the Chamber, with the town, and shared the results of this. It's incredibly important that we gather this because it allows us to best advocate and create what we call public will for the arts. So we were able to show, actually, you know, Genna, I think I'm going to turn over to you because you have I know that you have a piece that talks to what we uncovered back then about Nevada County. So
certainly. So I'll start from the top here. And what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen, but I'm not going to share it in a way that has all of the things, right? I'm not going to share it in the present style because I feel like sometimes it just is like too much. I like transparency. So I'm going to share it in this way so that I can kind of scroll around in the presentation and play with y'all, because this is not like me being a talking head the entire time. I hope that is not the case. I'm a theater person, so like I always say, interrupt the monologue. Please stop me, please, because I will go on. So please, this is why it's this organic space to do that. But I want to mention, since Eliza brought that up, just how much of an impact that you all had in last time's study. I say last time, I want to say last year, but last time in 2018, you all were 46.9 million in total economic activity. And that's like, my favorite number is not necessarily the nonprofit organization, that 25.7 million number. It's 21.2 million event relating. So that's like outside of the ticket of admission to the event, there was additional $21.2 million in spending. Like we're talking about taking the babysitters, taking the parking, food, buying the outfit. All of that was spending based on outside of the ticket price. So that's the number that really gets me excited. And that's 869 full-time job equivalencies that are brought in from just the arts and culture in your region. So that's incredible. And there's more numbers there to look at. But like when you look at it at a national, you all were kind of like leading that charge. You were bringing those numbers up in a way that were really, really helpful and really, really authentic to what your community is looking like, I'm hoping. So yeah, that's the bit about Nevada's impact from the last study space. Yeah, so there's that. Eliza, you want to toss it back? Do you want me to toss it back to you, or can I keep going?
Oh, you keep going, and then we're going to again turn back to everyone in the room to ask questions and to get engaged and help us prepare for this important moment we're just approaching with you.
Yes, which is wild because like I really love just getting a grounding space in the room. I love that we got to introduce ourselves, or most of us got to kind of tag in if you wanted to tag in. I want to open the space up to do that again coming through this meeting. So again, anytime, please interrupt, but know that I consider time a gift. And your presence as a president, I can't go wrong with that. Like I have to say that joke every time, even though I know that it's cheesy. So apologies, but I had to do it just because I just had to. So we'll try to be true to time. So when we're passing the mic and when we're adding our spots, I will hopefully gently nudge to say like, hey, y'all, let's keep the train going. And we'll have like a parking lot moment for those things that perhaps are still kind of on the radar of things that we want to talk about. Embrace the chat. If I'm talking too much and you don't feel comfortable just being like, hey, Genna, unmute, let me talk to you, do the chat. And I'll make sure to get in there too. Let me find the chat since I'm sharing my screen, because I don't want to lie to you and say I'm gonna do the chat and then not find the chat. Okay, here it is. So I'm gonna pull that up for myself now. Great. Nobody's in there yet, but if you want to jump in, try it out, practice, totally cool to do that. We're going to go through this process as thoughtful as we can so that we can have a successful piece at the end of the, hey, Karen, can I say Kat? Like, I feel like Eliza was saying Kat, and I'm not, we just met each other. So I don't know if I'm like ready for that cred yet.
Yes, for sure. You can
Okay.
say Kat. That's my initials and that's my nickname.
Got it.
Yeah. And I am all a mess from shoveling this morning. So that's why I don't have my video on.
No apologies and no explanation. I appreciate the being here after shoveling snow. I always feel like, is that a workout? That counts as a workout. So you are done your activity for today.
It's a great workout.
So I believe it. Next on my groundings is just perfection is not real. If somebody tells you it's perfect, have some questions about it, because I don't believe the perfection exists. So that's what we lean into in this process. We want to make sure that we are not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for the success is not in the perfection. The success is in the process, right? And then we're a team. We're doing this together. So speaking of teams, ours is a small but mighty one. Eliza mentioned Randy. If you didn't remember who Randy was when she said the name, but maybe remembered this face, this gentleman is the VP of research. There's Ben and then there's me. And this study that we're talking about that's kind of being the root of this equity and inclusion work that we're doing is partnered with all 50 states, including Puerto Rico and DC. And we are partnering with 400 communities out of the 50 states. So it's a big study. And so it's only 3 of us. So really, when we say small but mighty and stretched, I understand that. I know that nonprofit life. I feel it when folks tell me like, this is capacity for us. Most of you already know this because it was 2018 that you participated, but just for the folks in the room that didn't, or perhaps the people who view the recording and need a little bit of a sort of grounding as to what AEP is, it just is the study that helps policymakers and folks who don't necessarily get the like art for art's sake, don't really understand like the feel good, like get like art feels good, art's great, but like they don't see the actual impact beyond just the feel good. So this is what this project helps kind of figure out the dollars and cents of it. It's been around for years. It's now, it'll be by the next study, by the end of AEP 6, will be about 30 years of history of doing this work. 2 key components. There's an organizational study that Eliza was talking about that goes directly to organizations. And then there's a boots on the ground audience intercept survey. So those are the 2 key components of the study. That's basically it. And then there's a customized report at the end. So that's the AEP. I kind of have named it here too, the audience intercept survey and the organizational part. But the thing about AEP 6 is that it's centering in equity and community engagement. And I'll talk more about how that change happened. But just again, quickly, here's the timeline. In October, we're going to deliver findings. Right now, we're in survey mode. That's basically all you need to know. There's a couple of different ways that people can access the survey, whether it be paper, QR codes, or URL links. That's pretty much where we land with how folks can do it. There's a couple of rules there with the survey. You can't do more than 50. It has to be 1 per travel party. So like if me and my husband went, we can't both take the survey. One of us have to take the survey. We can fight about it. It'll probably be him. I'm just kidding. And then it has to be completed on site at the event. Like it cannot be emailed ahead of time, put on social media, sent after. The goal is to get it on site. So just a quick rounding about that. We have 25 different languages that are offered for the paper survey. So if you have a community that needs a specific language that is outside of English, Eliza will have that for you if you need it. And then here's just a fun link. If you want to see what a survey looks like in this moment and see what the process is around QR codes, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to try to move this slide really quickly, but if you want me to stay on it towards the end, I can. But that's what it basically looks like. That's a real survey code. There's quotas. I hate the word quota, but there's a goal, a target for the community to get. This is across the region, across the nation. Everybody has a target to reach when it comes to collecting those audience surveys. We can use incentives and we can have interviewers to help support how the survey is being engaged with the general public. When we do these interviewers, this is a critical piece of the equity piece that we're working towards. Usually we just said like, get your volunteers and go forth, do the best you can. But really now we want you to start looking at who's volunteering at where. Because like if, for example, there's a creative aging population, silver sneakers are seniors, those populations may feel more inclined to complete a survey, may feel more connectivity with a person who looks like them or who is of their same kind of general approach, right? So consider representation in our survey, in our interviewers, and that's been one first step of our inclusion practice. Oh, and I just want to say a transparency moment. This has nothing to do with the slide, but this has to do with life. I have a toddler who is sick, who is home with me. So if you hear Elmo in the background or running and laughing, enjoy, that's her, but she's just really sick. So I just want to say that if you hear her in the background. There's two different ways to do it. Traditional intercept with people coming in, boots on the ground, interviewers. And then there's also a pre-event where the folks can like post a quote. I'm not going to go in this deep dive here, but that's kind of like the nuts and bolts. Okay, so what makes it different? Here's the equity and inclusion piece. Here's how we're pulling it together. In the past, when we've done this, we've just said, go to the organizations, get the surveys as best you can, give us the 800, and not having the care or intentionality of how that work was coming to us. So what that meant was, some folks, we had even encouraged folks, go to the big old opera houses, go to the ballet events, go to the symphonies and get those surveys, get it done, check mark, come back to us, see you later. That marginalized folks clearly, and not just BIPOC and a lot of folks, but a lot of smaller organizations that are doing really amazing work. And so this time we're committed to how to be more inclusive, but how do we do that? Transparency. I'm always like, transparent. Let me tell you something, we can talk about how much transparency we share in a one day kind of event. I'm always like, look, I got these glasses on because I have bags under my eyes. I have a toddler at home. I have so not that transparent. But when we talk about transparency in this project, we mean we keep everything clear. Our updates, every time we do, pretty much quarterly, we do updates to the website that are clear. I encourage you all to be transparent in the process. Here's where we are. We're collecting surveys, telling your public like what's happening with the process. Community engagement and partnership and support, those kind of three go together. That's how we're centering equity. Boots on the ground, if it's me in these kinds of spaces in Nevada, if it's Eliza in your own communities, it's being boots on the ground, making those relationships, and I should say relationships and not necessarily partnerships, but it's really relational work and supporting the efforts beyond AEP6. So that's kind of how we've been centering equity through this process. And of course, acknowledging who we're looking for when we're talking about centering equity. We're talking about those who have been marginalized in the past, also known as the global majority. So that's how we work to center equity around this project. And how we've done it is through a requirement. So you might hear like, well, wait a minute, this is good work, but why is it required? What if we don't have this kind of population in our area? Or what if it's really hard? Or what if we are at max capacity? Well, the reason we made it a requirement is so that folks actually do it, right? That's bad to say, because if you don't make something a requirement, folks might not do it. But really, we wanted to make sure that folks did it. And in order to make it a requirement, we had to like identify something in which to make a prerequisite, for lack of a better phrase. And that is the mission statement. Now, let me tell y'all, mission statements are not always true and active to what's happening in their organization. So then it gets to like that like fine sort of like, how do we make it work? But just for this purpose in general, we're looking at mission statement or guiding principles. And when we say guiding principles, we mean like, if 98% of their programming is based in these BIPOC and Alana communities, yet their mission statement isn't identifying those particular communities, it probably is a BIPOC organization, and they probably cannot, based on white supremacy, systemic bias and culture. Perhaps they might close down an organization. I've heard many stories of people, and I'm sure you can share some as well, where things have made it bad to put it in their mission statement. So that's why we say mission statement or guiding principles that are about advancing, creating, or preserving artistic cultures or traditions. Now, we have failed forward. Eliza, you know about my failed forward. We have failed forward many times in this process because we haven't been mindful of community engagement, right? So this other QR code is just about how we failed forward and how we shifted into the space of not doing that again. Now, we live in America, y'all. Like there's some challenges just systemically, like that we can't tackle with one project. AEP6 is just the step in the direction. So what we decided to do was to lean into the census data in order to best acknowledge how many surveys per region can we actually require, with the idea of like, this is actually achievable. This is actually something that folks can actually work towards without being like, some folks, when we said 25% of your surveys have to come from BIPOC and a lot of events, and they're like, we don't even have 25% BIPOC and a lot of people. I'm just not going to do it. So that's where we were like, we want to have something that folks actually do the work, and makes it more in reach. So that was based on the census data. And we know, though, that census data is problematic. It's not perfect. And it's rooted in some of the really not so great practices that have happened in the past that we're trying to root against, but this is just a step in the direction. So when we talk about how this is beneficial, though, how all of this work is beneficial, how is it beneficial for organizations as well to participate? Well, at the end of the day, these organizations that participate in the process, and this is an organizational study, but also in the AEP6 audience intercept, is that they have access to the social impact and explorer. And what that is that this amazing, I have it on my, I wonder if you all can see this, hold on. Can you all see my screen change? Yes, it looks like it should look like a color wheeled. Folks will have special access to this explorer where you can pick a topic like youth education. And in that comes up tons of research that supports what those efforts are in that field. You can basically make your own, I want to say flyer, but that's not the word that's not the word I actually want to say, but you can make your own sort of advocacy report based on some of the things of interest that you can kind of play with yourself. So you'll have special access to that with a video from Randy that talks about how to best use it. There's a customized report at the end that will include if the organization, if the region meets their minimum when it comes to the goals for, yes, everyone will have access to the slides, 100%. I would definitely do that. When it comes to the customized report, sorry, I lost my brain because I was on the other one. Oh, when it comes to the customized report, there'll be that pull-out data for BIPOC and Alana organizations so that they in particular can get to say, here's our economic impact, right? Now, it's not them in particular, so let me clarify. It's not like, for example, this is the first organization that came up to my head, and I don't know Nevada County. I've never been yet, but we'll change that at some point. But like, for example, the Black Dance Theater of Harlem, they particular won't get to see their exact sort of results per event. They'll get to see all of the data in an aggregate across all of the BIPOC organizations, BIPOC and Alana organizations in their region. So just kind of that point of clarification, but it is still an aggregate that they can still use towards more advocacy, better funding, grants, all of that. There'll be a menu of talking points so that you can kind of amplify what the findings are. And then also you just get the visibility from the project. So how do you begin? And I kind of want to stop talking at this point because I feel like I've been talking a lot and I don't want to be boring. So sometimes I sing, you know, I'm a theater person. So where do we begin in this process? How do we start? How do we consider some of the work here? I'll give you a few hints as to what we have done on a national standpoint, but I'd love to kind of open the floor in conversation of how this can look like. What are some thoughts in the equity and inclusion space that you can consider as we start to work through this? So for AFTA, it's kind of like we're like zoomed all the way out. So there's not the most things that we can do like boots on the ground wise, but we've provided resources on like how to engage with your community. And we've defined some methods that are just sort of like activation points, right? We don't call them best practices, but we call them like guiding principles that you can kind of take with you and use to the best of your ability. So being clear, defining your methods, seeking knowledge, and all of these have like a little subsection here. So these topics have like a sort of a deeper dive underneath it so that you can use this to kind of go forth and really activate. So again, provide resources, manage expectations. That is a critical one, because we don't want to say to a BIPOC organization or say to people in general that they're going to do something, but then you can't do it, right? That's a big one when we come to breaking trust. Being thoughtful, addressing potential language barriers. That's another really huge one. Communicate. That's like my number one. And then I'm skipping these two on purpose. Seek knowledge, define your methods, be clear. Tapping to existing networks and creating new partnerships. When we rolled this out nationally for our 400 communities, but it's represented by 465 individuals, they were like, wait, hold on. I'm in rural North Carolina. I'm in rural Idaho. I don't have existing networks. I don't have partnerships. I don't really know, I haven't done this ever before. Let's talk about that. So that's when we birthed this other resource where we started just to focus in on BIPOC in a lot of organizations. So making phone calls, reaching out to communities, and sort of having those, like, I call it arts and culture adjacent, right? Or arts and culture with a wide net culture of really organizations that perhaps are not doing arts programming, but for example, like the NAACP, for a big old national example, they do tons of stuff in the community. So it's building that network out to say, like, if I don't even know, for example, I'm a Black person, I don't even know a Black person other than you, Genna, on this Zoom screen. How do I find? And that's where this resource came from. So if you need these kinds of resources, Eliza can have access and we can share with you. And then I'm gonna say this and then we'll open it up. It's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Will never be perfect, but it's a process, right? And that's what we lean into. And it's not about a checkbox. It's not about we're going to do this and then we're going to be bye-bye, see you until we need you the next time. It's about that relationship building piece and talking about how we continue to build those relationships and what is a value for your organization, what is a value for our organization, and how do we mutually benefit each other in this work. And then this is the hardest one. I'm gonna say show up first and then lean into discomfort. That is a critical piece of building trust. And sometimes really what happens with these BIPOC and Alana organizations is that the trust has been broken. At some point in the process, the trust has been broken or they have felt disinvested in. And so it's like, we don't want to participate. Or perhaps we don't know what really I have more questions. So there's more curiosity, there's more investigation, there's more money that has to be attached to it. So there's that part. And so when that does happen, when those kind of like blustery events may happen, you gotta lean into that discomfort because it's real. Folks have life experiences that have told them things that have made them have these sort of reactions. Continue to show up as best you can in those organizations and for those folks. I'm gonna stop talking. Let's talk together. We're gonna stop sharing my screen.
I wanted to thank you so much, Genna. You have this, when I think about your approach to the work that you share with us and encourage us to do as well, you come at it very much from the perspective of in metaphorically speaking, like an open palm rather than a clenched fist. And I remember very well when tragedy struck with George Floyd and a sort of resurgence, if you like, of the civil rights movement. And suddenly we were all writing statements of solidarity and thinking, oh my goodness, how do we approach this from the perspective of being a deeply rural, really white, out of touch community, et cetera, but then with the best, with the best interests of relationship building at heart. And I'm very grateful to you for helping guide us through this process. So I just wanted to make clear to everyone in the room today that we are actually in the midst of an economic impact study with you participating. So it's not so much that every organization needs to sign up to participate in Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 with Americans for the Arts. We're doing that. It's including you right now. And so this is sort of like, here we are, we're halfway through the year, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. And how can we use this level of participation with Nevada County Arts Council and Americans for the Arts to benefit our approach in equity work as we look forward beyond it? What will the report look like when so in October, it's October 2023, isn't it? So it's the year that we're in. What we hope to do is fly Genna out from Washington. I just have to raise money for it. It'll be worth every cent. And then we'll have Genna present the results. We'll have a big community event. And what we might do is have some good listening time with each of our municipalities across the county. And I think it would be really helpful for our business sector to understand the results of our survey post-pandemic. We have the figures, you know, the almost $47 million worth of economic impact pre-pandemic. We're going to be looking at whole new figures. It might be slightly terrifying. We don't know. It might be great. But that we're going to be able to share with you a much deeper socially oriented impact of the arts as well. And this is why we thought it was sort of almost urgent that we bring folks together and talk about how we do this in our daily lives and work.
Yeah, I'll just say it's hard. I feel like I just talked for like 20 minutes and didn't acknowledge that this is hard. And Eliza had a really good point, and I appreciate your point of the open palm, because the reason why I go to this work is because I know that it's hard. Nobody wants to like run a marathon and then be like, and you know what, time to work out right after, right? It's sometimes run the marathon so you can eat the donut and like enjoy the meal after. And so I want to acknowledge that this is hard work. It's not easy work, and it's not going to be something that happens overnight. So I like to give that grace with a caveat of we do have to like do the work prior to. So all of that. And I saw a hand, Jenny. Thanks for stopping the monologue.
Well, I don't quite know how this fits in with the study, but it does seem to fit in with the topic. So I'll shoot. And I want to start sort of with my own personal, how I come at this. When George Floyd was murdered, my daughter's boyfriend, who's Black, was living with us. So it created for me personally a completely eye-opening. I mean, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it's all rainbows and kittens. Oh my God, there's racial discrimination in the world. I had no idea. That wasn't me, but it certainly brought it to light in a whole new way. But I, at the time, thought as a white woman, my position is I should sit down, shut up and listen. I shouldn't weigh into the fray. I shouldn't get involved. I mean, you know, but my process of the last few years, I've realized more and more that this is our work. It's not the responsibility of BIPOC communities to fix this. It's people who are, you know, pigmented like me. And from an institutional perspective, classical music, which is the industry I'm currently in, has a very problematic history with, you know, with silencing women's voices and BIPOC voices. It has a very problematic history. And I think you can't, I mean, we are in as Eliza said, a predominantly white rural community. You can't, I don't think you can create this inclusive audience perspective. You can attract people of color to your audience until you fix what's on your stage. You know, you can't fix, you have to start with the stage. And so that's kind of where we have started our work in our organization. We program a piece from a BIPOC artist on virtually every program we do. And not because we're trying to check a box, but because, you know, our artistic director is truly picking amazing music that has, for the most part, been silenced in our industry. And also the same thing with our guest artists. At least 50% of our guest artists, we hire our BIPOC artists. And I think that's a starting place. I'm not sure where to go from there, though, because our community is still not diverse. Anyway.
No, and I see Miss Lady Rona Frazier. I see your hand. Let me just acknowledge Jenny's point, where it's like where to go. I love the direction that you're going into. And I just want to say one thing. I am not the end all be all in all things BIPOC and Alana. I just want to get that prerequisite. I don't want to hold that mantle for myself. But what I can offer is more of that, more of community-centric work. So if you don't have the audience that's there, you know, is there another county over that has never been in your county that's doing really great work that you can come in? So like, yes, on a national standpoint, yes, inviting guest artists, but we're like the community work is also a really great place to dig into if you want to toe dip into something else too. I can offer that too.
I see that part of our work is also in educating our white audience, you know, showing them that it's not about checking a box, and that, you know, whatever preconceived notions they have about BIPOC artists are probably wrong.
Yep.
So
I agree. And education is such a huge piece of it all too, because you know, some folks show up in spaces differently than what has been traditionally deemed as appropriate, but that's just how they show up, right? And that's, if we want them to show up in a way that's not authentically theirs, then that's like erasure that we're talking about. So we really do, I think, have to educate our audiences and our staff. Man, how many ushers have I told to be like, no, but that's okay. Like they're enjoying it when they're like, yes, in the back. Like those are my people who are like actually enjoying the show. Like you don't have to shush them. So it's that education piece overall that I think is really a great component to the work, Jenny. I think that's great. All right, Lady Rona.
Lady Rona, can you hear us? It looks like you, when I was watching you, it looks like you're arriving somewhere. Maybe Lady Rona's arriving at work and getting settled.
Yes, settle in.
So what I might do is well, let's keep coming back to Lady Rona, because I would really like to hear what she was saying, and I'm so curious. Jenny, thank you. That's really great work. Love it. Anyone else like to share or ask a question? Cara in Plumas County. Cara and I, just to say, Cara and I are working together a little bit at the moment, because Nevada County Arts Council has been made an administering organization for the state for this one particular grant called the California Creative Corps. We're just completing a listening session of 19 counties, and we're really, really keen that this grant also supports every effort to engage with our BIPOC and Alana communities. So it's wonderful that you're with us, Cara. I'm so sorry. I think we've lost Lady Rona. But we'll keep an eye out for her. Mark.
I just wanted to chime in and see if you're finding ways also to work with LGBTQ plus communities. I've heard a lot of talk about, you know, racial and economic differences, but not a lot about that. Any information in that regard?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we initially looked at BIPOC and Alana for AEP 6 because what I think has been historically is that the color, race has been the place where it comes in arts and culture that has been marginalized or underrepresented. Now, LGBTQ has also been marginalized and underrepresented. There's also Jewish work, disability work that have been marginalized, underrepresented, and not included in opportunities of really being able to amplify the work that they are doing, that all of the marginalized groups have been doing. So I think, yes, I think we haven't talked about it formally in this study and for AEP 6, but we have engaged in those communities in multitudes of ways, but we haven't necessarily amplified it for AEP 6, but we are doing that work too, especially because some of that work kind of coincides with the BIPOC and Alana work as well. A lot of what we found in different regions have been that there's a lot of BIPOC and Alana representation through those groups as well. And so we've been in talks about AEP 7, how we will sort of include that work or continue to widen the groups that are being able to be amplified in this work. So yes, and there's a little bit of that coming. So that's a great question. It's a really great question.
Yeah, I've noticed that one thing that people that I've talked to are concerned about a lot, especially in LGBTQ, but also, you know, BIPOC and Alana, would be ensuring that they understand that when they come to your space or your event, that it's a safe place for them to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and that safe space is such a huge piece of the puzzle, especially in BIPOC and Alana spaces. So, for example, if you have a BIPOC and Alana organization, that is considered a safe space for them. And sometimes when we have white researchers come into those spaces, I know I have a video from Pittsburgh, a conversation from one of the research partners in Pittsburgh that was like, me coming into that space was then making it not safe for them anymore. It wasn't their same community space anymore. So like, what do I do in that situation when we want to be in those spaces, but also
Right.
us being there is messing it up, for lack of a better phrase. So I hear that, and I can say, yes, safe space is a huge thing. So how do we navigate that? Do we find community partners that do feel safe for them, that kind of can do the work with us in collaboration? So that's why it's like engaging those partnerships, finding those relationships that help kind of support the effort in a wide net. But that's a great point, Mark. It really is. It's safe space is critical, and that's again part of that trust building piece.
Genna, I noticed that Lady Ronna has joined us again, but I'm not sure how easy it is for her to participate while she's driving. Lady Ronna, if you can hear us, and if it's safe for you, we welcome you to unmute. And otherwise, we'll just keep an eye out for when you've stopped, and we'll be totally ready to invite you to speak. So, yeah, it looks like Lady Ronna is probably not a great time for her to talk, but we'll keep an eye out for that. Would anyone else like to contribute or have a question for Genna?
I'm also cool with silence. So I feel like I'm one of those people who like to like think it through and then either drop it in the chat or like have a moment of like, yes, I want to say something, but I gotta wait until my brain fully processes it. So I'm also very cool with, if you hear me just letting the silence happen, that's what I'm doing. I'm giving space to folks.
Fantastic. Kat, you looked like you had something you'd like to share.
You know, I just really appreciate this conversation, and Genna, it's great to hear you present, and I look forward to like digging into these slides and this information after later on. You know, I was at Community of Writers at Palisades Tahoe last summer and listening to a bunch of literary presentations there, and listened to someone talking about, it was a conversation between two people of color in the publishing world and with their work. And afterwards, my friend that I was with, who was white, I asked her, well, what'd you think? What'd you think? What'd you take away from that conversation? She's like, well, you know, it wasn't really about me. And so that's the thing I'm always looking for insights to approach there, you know, because it is about her, and it is about us, you know, me being white, and yet I really often, I'm always trying to figure out the language to respond to that without, you know, going to blame.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think me and Eliza were just having that kind of not debate, but that great question of like, folks are like, what's in it for me always? And that's like human nature, because it's like, if it's not for me, then like, what am I doing here? Like, I get that. And, you know, a lot of, you know, from my experiences working with these communities, that's been a lot. It's like, well, what's in it for us? Like, you know, why do we have to do this? What's the benefit for us when it comes to like, these organizations don't even care about us. They don't even participate in blah, 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 insert all of the things. So I do think that how, and again, I'm not the end all be all, but how I have kind of navigated those language and navigated those conversations. I'm like, you know what, you're right. I mean, there is not a benefit for you individually, I guess, when you consider it and kind of just, you know, kind of, because the thing about this work, and that's why I come with it as an open palm, I love that, Eliza, is that if you come at it with a closed fist and say, man, why you not like why don't you understand that this is good for us? It stops conversation. But if you make people feel like they're seen and heard, and then try to stretch how they feel seen and heard, has been more successful. So acknowledging like, I guess you're right. Maybe she wasn't actually talking about your experience, but wouldn't it be cool to kind of discover how her experience can impact your experience overall broadly, or how her experience or how their experience has impact or has the ability to kind of like ignite another experience that you can have that you never even thought about. So I just come to the work and come to those kinds of conversations with an acknowledgement of how folks feel, and then having a curiosity of like, oh, well, but what if, like, what is the next sort of thing? So I think that that would be that's an offering that I can give as to like how to not feel like blamey, accusatory, and be like, what do you mean this is not about you? But also kind of continuing the conversation, I think has been helpful in my work.
Yeah, will help. Thank you. That's helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll keep the silence going.
I noticed that we have a couple of newcomers in the room as well. Someone with a really beautiful name, Menominee. Is that how I spell that? Menominee, would you like to introduce yourself, say hello? Or Jean? It's so great to know that Jean's with us today. And it may not be possible for those who are muted, whose faces we can't see, to actually speak during this time. They may be at work or in some other situation. I'm glad that they're listening in. And we will create a record, we're recording this clearly, so we'll share this widely with everybody and with those that signed up and may not have been able to join us this morning. I'm personally really looking in terms of like what's in it for us as a community in Nevada County and any future community that commits to this work with you. I'm really looking forward to seeing literally the results of the survey in terms of the social impacts. We are at the same time as measuring our economic impact and everything, fabulous from that perspective. We're measuring the degree to which our BIPOC and Alana communities do not have access to the arts. So this is going to be a fabulous sort of springboard for us. We'll be able to take this and say, this is great. Now let's look at this together. It'll be a marvelous starting place for the next stage of our journey together in this work. And it is terrifying. And it's also beautiful. So, and it slightly puts a spin on the work that we did the last time these arts and economic prosperity studies only happen once every 5 years, Genna?
Yep, about once every 5 years.
Exactly. And we want to make sure that we are on this train together and that we keep measuring our impact every 5 years so that you all have something that you can attach to your grant applications when you go for those big grants and you need folks to see your economic impact within the community and your place within the world. And now you'll also be able to look at the social impacts of representation and access. So I think there is something very strongly in it for us in that way.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the social impact questions, because I think that has been, and I'm trying to find it now, but that has been one of the things that I think most people have been the most excited about, especially in the BIPOC and Alana community, because a lot of folks, when we started talking about economic impact study, people became fearful that if their dollars and cents didn't read like Nevada's in 2018, millions and millions, that would be a hindrance or something that would be not good for them to participate in. But now that we have some of those social impact questions, we can better tell a story. And what is data without a story? We can better tell a story as to like what's actually happening in their community. I just wanted to show these. Can you all see these? Question number 8 here. These are where we are finding the social impact questions. And we also have those social impact questions for our organizational survey. So if you are an organization that does take the organizational survey, we have similar sets of questions about basically, this is my favorite one. I would feel a great sense of loss if this activity or a venue were no longer available. This is a pride in my community. We want this to be preserved for future generations. Those are huge questions that we are asking the general public that come into organizations and events to answer. And I think that really can tell the story this is why I'm spending $30 on a babysitter and $20 in parking and got to buy a new outfit because this social impact. So I think that that's going to be a game changer, Eliza, and I'm glad you brought that up. I wish I could show you the organizational survey ones because they're even more deeper into the social impact stuff, but I can't. It's under wraps until we have about 2 weeks until I can share that. And I would only be able to share that with Eliza. So Eliza will get to know what's happening and then she'll tell y'all. So yeah, so it's the social impact questions are a really, really good place to land.
Genna, thank you. And so we have about at least 4 major Nevada County East and West organizations with us today. And just to say, we'll be reaching out to you within the next month to let you know to expect an email from Genna from Americans for the Arts to launch the organizational part of the survey. And then subsequent to that, we, Nevada County Arts Council, will be here to help you. Sometimes if you have a bookkeeper, for example, or you have any kind of staff and capacity, you're perfectly able to draw those figures and provide Americans for the Arts with what it needs. But if not, we can come and sit with you and help you pull those numbers from your books, and everything's held in total confidence. Everything you as an organization share with Americans for the Arts, Nevada County Arts Council doesn't actually have access to. It's all then aggregated and given back to us in terms of an overall picture. So Genna, we are at time. It's like 9:59. I feel like it's gold dust to have you with us. Everybody, you're going to be seeing Genna again. We're going to make it possible for you to meet Genna in person when she comes to share the results of this. And then we all have a lot of work ahead of us together in the next 6 months, but it's going to be fun. And I really, really appreciate our organization. Yeah, George.
Yeah, hi, I came in very late. And so how do you measure the economic and social impact through the survey that you just talked about? Is that the only way you can do it?
That's a great
question. How many of you have ever heard of Grass Valley Male Voice Choir?
Oh yeah.
Of all the people on Zoom, okay, there was one response. Is there anybody else? Wow. So we have a lot of work to do. I'm the artistic director, conductor of Grass Valley Male Voice Choir. I took over from Eleanor Kenitzer when she retired. And I'm brand new to this community. My wife and I moved here in October 2019. And so I'm finding out that even though the choir's been around since 1996, not many people know about us. And I'm just wondering, how can we enlarge our impact? How can we be more involved in this community?
George, thank you so much for that. And it's great to know that you arrived here in 2019. And I can tell you that the Grass Valley Male Voice Choir was actually an active participant with us in 2018 and 19 for this last survey. I just looked you up and there you are in the list of participating organizations. So clearly really plugged in. I think you'll find that most of us, whether we live here or whether we run organizations, we've all heard of you. So whoever your forerunners were, they've done a great job, and we know.
Good, that's good.
And of course, we've had COVID in between.
Yeah.
I'm going to just put my email address in the chat. If you can open NevadaCountyArts.org. Okay. I've just put my email address in the chat. So if you want to copy and paste, and then George, I'll also put my phone number in here, and you can just call me and we can talk about all the ways that you can get engaged. Delighted to help. And yes, you're going to be part of this.
Oh, great. I want to be involved. I definitely want to be involved. Yeah.
Wonderful. Jenny, I think Jenny, did you have something else, or was that a wave?
No, my father has sung in the men's choir since the 90s, so I was just.
Oh, great. Oh, that's fantastic.
I love that connection.
Isn't it sweet? The connections we make when we're together. So George, you give me a call and we'll talk. Okay. Mel,
Hi. respect that we are wrapping things up here very much. So I wanted to know how we can continue some of these conversations. I'm down here in Mammoth Lakes, about 3 to 4 hours, kind of southeast of Nevada City. And we have a great opportunity down here to create a new arts policy. There really is none at all. And so I'm just really grateful for all this information, and we'll be passing it along to folks that will be creating some of this policy.
Mel, thank you so much. I don't know if you have access to the chat, but I put my email or phone number. Give me a call. I can connect you with your local county arts council. That's someone who does what I do in your county. And I'd love to connect you personally to them and see where you can find a landing place for that important work.
Thank you. Kristen Reese of Mono Arts Council.
Brilliant.
And we're looking to really expand in new ways. But anyways, I would really like to respect time, and I'll reach out to you regardless.
Yes, please do. And we have, for those on the call, I think some of you know, Nevada County Arts Council has a community practice for equity in the arts, for arts sector leadership. And so we're completely open to any ideas for conversations like this that we can host that are really practical and meaningful for local communities. Just let us know, and let's see what kind of event that we can put on or conversation we can host with you. Okay.
I have a thank you. I believe it's the Art Council that gave us a grant to purchase a keyboard. And if you're the people that did it, because I'm brand new in this area, I just want to thank you for it. It's a great keyboard, by the way.
Great, George. I'm glad it helped. Well, the person that I'd love to thank alongside us is Genna. Genna, you've been lovely and gracious and magnanimous, and I know that you'll be with us on this journey. So more to follow, right?
Absolutely. And I have loved being in this space. I wanted to hear from everybody. I wanted to hear more. I feel like the conversation, to Melly's point, I feel like the conversation is not over. No, blasted time. I feel like the conversation is just starting. So continue. I love the idea of continuing. I could drop my email and phone number in there too. But I think It's also on the slides. I'll do that now, that since Eliza had the big old great, I'll just do it. So you can always reach out to me, usa.org. See, I can't, Eliza has the pro level bit of typing while talking. I don't. 2022. See, I gotta like, I can't do it. I can't do it at the same time. I can't text and I can't write and talk at the same time. So anyways, I hope that you all gain something, took away something that was helpful, and that the time was well spent, because I know that I had a really great time spending it with you all today. Fantastic. And try to stay dry and warm, I guess, because it's snow and rain, depending on where you're living.
Thank you so much. And we hope your little one feels better soon. I mean, I was crazily working at about midnight last night, which meant it was 3 a.m. where Genna was. And I thought, I'll just schedule this for the morning, but because we had an early morning conversation, I sent it anyway, which is sort of against my principles. Immediately, Genna answered. Anyway.
Luckily, I had a sick child in the bed, so I was just up. Yes. I was like, oh, there's an email. There's something for me to actually do, instead of like watching her like a hawk and making sure she's not dying. I'm like,
oh gosh. Oh, all prayers to you. She's going to be fine. Well, we'll share this presentation. We've been recording, and I should have said that in the beginning. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to let you know and ask you if it's okay, but we're recording and we'll share this with those who attended. And again, Genna, thank you so much. We'll be in touch, and Genna will be in touch with you all as well as the study goes on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much. We're excited to start this journey.
Great. Thanks, Juniper. And I'm so sorry that Lady Rona, it felt like it wasn't ultimately a good moment for her. But I have Lady Rona's email address because she would have registered for this. So I can reach out, and if she has any questions, I can share them with you, Genna.
Wonderful. All right, awesome. I'm going to email you
Yeah.
the slideshow. I think I emailed it to you before, but I think I made that quick shift with your numbers with the Nevada
Yes.
Council, Nevada County. So I'll re-email you in PowerPoint so that it's slightly more accessible.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Genna. You're the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Wait.
Oh, Lady Rana, you're here.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you both so much. I've been, I drive and I work a lot, so driving, so I apologize, but I've been watching and hearing. I really enjoyed this time with you all, and I do want to be more involved. It's just that I'm busy working all the time, and I just really wanted to sit in and listen.
Nice.
And to learn about this, because I'm a huge advocate, supporter in my community, and I was just thinking about, like, wow, this is so meaningful and so important. And it's really like helps me out to be able to, talk to other people in my community to see how we can work together and make a difference, because that's truly what I want to do. I work with children and youth, and it just feels like I don't get a lot of support in my community, and it just seems like no one seems to be interested. So just hearing you all speak today, it really blessed me. It encouraged me, and so sometimes I feel like I'm fighting all by myself. And so, that's just me. I have a big heart, and I truly want to make a difference, but it just seems like the struggle is real in Stockton, California.
Yeah. Lady Rona, where are you? Where are you based? Where are you calling in from this morning?
I'm calling from Stockton, California. So
Stockton.
California,
yeah,
but Stockton, yes.
Yeah. And are you in touch with your, what's the Stockton? This is like hopeless of me.
Okay.
San Joaquin. Oh my goodness, sorry, I interrupted. What were you just about to say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought I interrupted, but I'm close, like maybe 2 hours from Fresno, or maybe an hour from Tracy, or maybe an hour from Sacramento. So just right in between, a small city. I'm a Stockton native, been here all my life, and truly want to, make an impact. It just, I don't know. At sometimes it feels like it's a hopeless moment, but to me, I've been working with kids all my life, and I truly want to, bring some difference here in the city. And so it just seems like getting the culture together, especially the African American culture, it's really hard. And it's just, I just pray, like, Lord, lead me and guide me. That's all you can do. And so that's where I'm at right now. But like I said, just listening to you all today speak, it really inspired me, encouraged me to let me know that I am on the right track.
Yeah.
I may not have the supporters that I need right now, but they will eventually come, and God will bless me with the people I need to be around, or in the circle, the right circle. God will bless me to be in the right circle to be able to, make some changes. So that's where I'm at right now. And so, yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all.
Lady Rana, if with your permission, I'll be in touch by email. I might have a couple of folks that I'd like to introduce you to in San Joaquin County. It's one of the only counties in California that doesn't have a county arts council. And we're always, those of us who are leaders of other counties, always like to connect with folks that we can help where there isn't one of us in those counties. So it so happens that the chair of California Arts Council, Chelo Montoya, was born in San Joaquin County, and she might love to know about you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you need, Lady Rona, I was a teaching artist. I come from a long line of teachers. I love being with students. So if you need anybody to come and speak at a panel to talk about pathways into this work and next steps and future related things, I mean, my email's here. And again, Eliza, please do share my contact.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support, that as well.
I totally. See what kind of trouble you get yourself into, Genna, every time our paths cross.
I love good trouble. You know, I love good trouble. Can't lie about that.
Wonderful. Lady Ronna, it was a pleasure to meet you, and Genna, we'll talk again very soon, and Lady Ronna will be in touch.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you both too as well. And thank you so much for your support. Look forward to meeting you soon and speaking with you about changes and how we can make a difference in Stockton.
Fantastic. Take care now. Bye.
Take care. God bless.